Menasor has turned into my favorite combiner over the past few years, and getting a good toy of this set of characters has always been difficult. Either it's too expensive, too big for me, or Combiner Wars, and like I'm not buying the Combiner Wars one. I went for the Magic Square one because I like the design, and I got the knockoff because A, it was the only one in stock at the time, and B, I like the size. So this is slightly bigger than the normal Magic Square release. I got these guys off TF Safari, but they're also in stock on Sir Toys, and because I have an affiliate link, I'll leave it below so you can get these guys if you want, because they're not very badly priced, like at all. I've had these guys show up in videos and people keep thinking they're the legacy ones. They're not. They're not. I'll wait for those to actually release. These are the Magic Square ones. This set, as the alt modes, looks amazing. I love how these cars scale with each other. They look really sick as a set. The plastic doesn't feel the greatest on these figures. It feels very harsh in hand. Not like as polished as, say, New Age or actual Magic Square. And the paintwork, while not sloppy, feels very lacking. Each figure looks like it's missing some color. I think the lack of vibrance, I think the colors need to be a bit more vibrant. I think that's what drags it down a little bit for me. Let's start with my least favorite, because Dead End is kind of boring. He turns into a Porsche 928, and the colors just don't really work for me. They're very bland. This Stunticon is also the most problematic of the set. Car holds together pretty well, but once we get into robot mode, that's a whole different story. I do wish, like I said earlier, that the colors popped a bit more, because it does feel dull otherwise. Like maybe a brighter burgundy or a more like colorful burgundy would have been nice. Plus the spoiler was in a baggie in the box and it loves to fall off, so there's that. Breakdown is a Lamborghini Countach, and I love this alt mode. The alt mode isn't without its issues though. The black paint looks very strange. It looks kind of flaky, like they didn't clean the surface underneath before they painted it over, because you can see little speckles. And when you fold the hood up, it's actually dug into the paint at the top. You can see it there. So that's a bit unfortunate. The red square though looks really crisp and sharp, just like a modern lorry driver. Let's see who gets that reference. But I love the shaping of the car because it's one of my favorite looking cars of all time. The alt mode does have some tabbing issues, especially at the front. The hood section does like to just untab and like flop around, so that's a little annoying. Drag strip looks pretty clean. The brown is a bit odd, mostly looking like the color of sick, but that's fine. The alt mode itself looks really great though. Everything holds together pretty well, and my only complaint is this little engine piece. It's so hard to get out when I tab it in that I just don't tab it in at all. It stays folded up. He also comes with replacement parts for the side sections, so that's good. I don't know why you'd need them, but hey, at least they include them. He also rolls the best, which he should because he's a fucking six-wheeler. The best alt mode for the car, guys, for me is Wild Rider. He turns into a Ferrari 308 GTB, and it looks really good. And he's also the most solid out of the bunch. There's no tabbing issues. The paint is clean. Nothing feels loose. It's just a pleasant car form. I love it. I love how the red looks on this guy. That combo with this dark gray looks really great. However, I do wish that red was a bit more vibrant, but it's still really epic. Motormaster though, he's my favorite from this set. The truck looks really clean. The arms at the back are a bit of an eyesore, yeah, but for the most part, they're not a huge issue. I love the size of the truck too. It feels much bigger than the other members, as it should. And while it's still not perfect scaling between them, I think it still works quite well. And then when you combine it with the trailer, it looks a little bit too comically oversized, but also feels large enough to not feel comically oversized. It's hard to describe, but the size I feel works well for the King of the Road, but then in some angles it looks too big. It's weird. It doesn't do much apart from sit there and connect to the truck, which isn't the most solid connection in the world, but it still looks really cool. The alt modes together just look great. I love the way this team shaped up, and this slightly bigger size that the KO offers just really appeals to me and was my main reason for going for this knockoff. This larger size doesn't really help them scale much in terms of vehicle mode, but for me, who doesn't really care about scaling half the time, I'm fine with it. Transforming them is actually quite clever, but also painful at times. Wild Rider and Breakdown are the same mold essentially, so transforming them is almost identical minus their backpacks. But I love the way that their legs are done. Instead of just sliding down, they split, rotate, and then the middle slides down. That's really neat. That's really clever. Dragstrip doesn't feel like he does anything unique, and like I said, that engine part, if you fold that down, especially on this copy, it gets stuck and I gotta use a screwdriver to pop it out. Yeah. But the legs are pretty neat in the way of conversion. It's just sliding them. The pins are like really stiff, so I have to pull really hard, and that's kind of scary. Dead End can just go leave. This thing sucks to transform. The spoiler has to come off on this version because they didn't give the toy enough clearance for it to like swivel the leg around. The legs are extremely fiddly in their engineering anyways, and to top it all off, my copy is so loose that it doesn't help. Motormaster's transformation feels very Generations. Like, if this were in a Generations line, it would feel a lot like this. The way that the legs shape up is really, really interesting and super fun to do once you get the order of operations figured out. It's just a very fun conversion. Oh, we're interrupting this video just to say that the P.O. box people called and said there was a package there, so we have this box. Let's open it up. Oh, this came from my buddy, the Beige Power Ranger, by the way. So thank you very much for that. I really do appreciate it. Okay, I can't get the box open. I literally can't get the box open. Spoiler Magnus. Magnus? No. Nemesis. Spoiler Nemesis. Thank you. And why did I call it Magnus? The robot modes you end up with are very good looking together. One of the things I wish was done better was the plastic look. It looks kind of weird to me. They look very toy-esque, and I mean, it is a knockoff, so what do you expect? But from the images I've seen of what actual Magic Square plastic looks like, it looks the same or very close, and to me it just looks very weird. Breakdown and Wild Rider look similar because they're mold mates, and they look the best to me. Breakdown in particular, I just feel like his colors pop the most, and Wild Rider has slowly become my favorite carbot to mess with because he's like the least loose and thus the most stable. So posing him around is super enjoyable. But both of these carbots feel super nice and are a joy to mess with. It's just Breakdown's, the bottom of his feet like to fall off a lot when I first got it, so I had to glue them on. I just think they forgot to glue them on. Dragstrip is a little disappointing for me. I was expecting this one to be my favorite because Dragstrip is my favorite of the Stunticons, but this one just feels a bit bland. I wish the yellow was brighter. I feel the arms are a bit too short, and I wish he had heels. Like, don't get me wrong, the figure still looks great, and it feels the best out of the two arm bots, but I just wish there was a little bit more refinement on this guy. I bet the actual Magic Square one is a little better. Dead End, though, the loosest fucking thing I've gotten in a long time. This figure feels flimsy and floppy. The arms will not hold themselves up. The hips suck. I'm not a fan of the head sculpt, and the colors feel so dull here. He just looks so dull and bland and boring. If he wasn't being sold with Dragstrip, and he wasn't part of a team, I don't think he would have sold very well at all. It is a very uninteresting looking figure. This one is easily the worst out of this particular set for me. I just don't like how it looks and it feels blech. But Motormaster, damn, this deluxe size beast is an awesome figure. It looks amazing. No kibble to speak of. Nothing hinders the design for me. The truck feet aren't oversized like some of the other full-size third-party offerings. The proportions feel nice. And the size. For a Legends toy, this is deluxe sized, and honestly, I like it. It puts him in the larger Legends range like New Age Magnus, and to me, it just fits Motormaster much more. He should be bigger than like Optimus Prime, at least for me. He also looks great in any pose and can do any pose because he's full of joints, and I mean full of joints. The whole team looks super awesome. I love the way this shaped up, and they look incredible together. If Legacy is going the way I think it's going, then I'm excited to see what they're going to do with their combiner. The trailer, according to the instructions, doesn't do anything in this mode. No base mode, it just kind of sits there and does nothing. Yay, box. Posing on the car guys is all the same, so I'm just going to use Wild Rider here for that. They are very posable with wrist swivels, ankle tilts, waist joints, and even ab crunches. Whether they be side to side like the arm bots or front to back like the leg ones. Also, Wild Rider has an added downward toe bend just the way he transforms. It's not super useful in poses, but you have that, I guess, if you want it to be there. Motormaster is packed with joints, just like Canada. He has so much expression and posing that makes him the first one I grab when I decide to mess with the set every time. I love the lower body's articulation. There's just so many options here, and the arms can be double jointed if you slide up the shoulder pads. Plus he has butterfly joints and an extra neck hinge due to transformation. So that just makes it so much more expressive than you would expect from a Motormaster. If this was it, for the price of the carbots alone, I would say it's totally worth it. This particular version of the Magic Square guys goes for about $36-ish for the two carbot packs, and then a whopping $84 for Motormaster, which is a lot, but you know, trailer. The trailer, though, is a thing. It basically becomes an entire figure. This is where the big debate for this style of Menasor comes into play. So here it's just a trailer, and it looks pretty good, but when combining the toy, the trailer just becomes basically the whole robot. The trailer's conversion, though, is pretty fun and interesting, and I always have fun converting it. For me, this is a non-issue, but I know why some people don't like it. It may seem lazy and it may seem underwhelming to some, but like, I'm fine with it. combining the rest of the vehicles onto the trailer is pretty easy. The car legs just peg onto the legs, and Motormaster just slots into the back. I do wish he could integrate more into the whole combiner, but the arms have a couple of different options, so that's always a plus. So you can do a Combiner Wars style arm where there's the whole car that just pegs on, which would look cool if my copy's elbows were great, which they are not. You have this option to recreate that one look from G1, or what I prefer, this style. This looks incredible to me. I've passed all the, this doesn't truly combine or whatever phase, and now I can actually appreciate how this thing looks and feels, and it feels great. Some knockoff housekeeping was required though. I had to like tighten up the hips and the knees, but they're all on screws, so that was pretty easy. The elbows were quite loose as well, but I fixed those. So, you know, little things that you're gonna have to do when you buy this set because it is a reproduction of something, but it's not that difficult. And I was posing this thing for so long. Now I have a crap ton of figures that I got recently that I have to make videos on and mess with and write stuff about that I haven't had a chance to mess with this guy in the last couple weeks, other than for when I was prepping for this video. But I occasionally find myself filling my phone's storage space with pictures of this because taking photos of posing this is so much fun. Here's some poses that you can go around and just mess with because like, it's just, this will just show you how much fun it is. You can just do whatever you want. You can also swap out the chest, thighs, crotch, and head to make it toon or toy accurate, or if you do what I do, you can just make your own preferred style for this guy, because customization is a lot of fun. It's very modular, this figure, I quite like that. The combiner itself is such a blast to mess with. After fixing the joints, it feels super nice. The individual fingers are super helpful, and it's actually a nice size. You'd think, being a slight upscale of a Legends toy, it would be small, but it's the same size as like a Combiner Wars combiner, just with much better proportions. I don't like the look the Combiner Wars combiner look. It's not for me. It's obviously no Gravity Builder or Feral Rex, but it fits very well with other Legends toys I've accumulated this past year, so that works a lot for me. And the combiner is quite posable. It can articulate just as well as the base figures, and with that sword and gun, it can pull off some incredible poses. The expression from the hands and the head, the level of tilt on the ankles, and the different arm combos can allow you to get this guy in pretty much whatever pose you want. His head also lights up, but the batteries died on my copy because I accidentally left them on the entire time the trailer was in trailer mode. So yeah, the batteries are dead. Sorry. I definitely say get this. This set is so much fun. Again, I've linked every link I can in the description where you can find it for a good price. So there is that. The cars are just over 30 for the 2-packs, so I think that's a very good bang for your buck considering you're getting 2 slightly larger Legend scale toys for the price of a deluxe. It's not bad. It's a solid set. Has a couple of issues, but most of them are fixable, which seems to be the trend with all the KOs I've gotten recently. Like, I'm in the middle of repairing my Feral Rex right now, and Sir Toys said he'll try and find me a new head for my Razor Claw, so that's awesome. I did not expect to love this figure as much as I did. Like, I got it on a whim. I'm like, I want a combiner, but I don't want one that's going to take up so much space because Gravity Builder takes up a lot of space. And so I went for this, and it blew my mind. So I highly recommend picking this up if you either A, are into Legends collecting, or B, just want a good Menasor. I mean, we are going to get one eventually, but if you still end up being disappointed with the Hasbro one once it's fully revealed and we have it in our hands on store shelves, then I would definitely say pick this one up. But that's been my look at the knockoff of the Magic Square Menasor. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.